Alright, people, back again with another video. Ancient world of paganism. And how the hell did we get here? Our presenter is Professor Hans. And with that being said, let's dive into it.
That eventually rendered the languages mutually unintelligible. Nevertheless, their close relationship to one another may still be observed not only in basic vocabulary, but also in similar grammatical structures. Let us now substitute a P for the F sound of fater, and the result is Latin pater, as well as Greek pater. Finally, substitute an I for the A of pater, and we now have the Sanskrit word for father, pitar. We could multiply this single example many times. What excites scholars of religion is that the gods' rights and religion represented in the Vedas show significant parallels too with the gods' rights and religions of the ancient Greeks and Romans. They share more than just etymologies. We possess then written sacred texts without accompanying historical documentation. This literature divides into two great periods, a Vedic period and a classical period. The Vedic period lasts from approximately 1500 to 500 BCE and uses an older form of Sanskrit. The classical period arises, on the other hand, when Sanskrit is no longer a spoken language, but instead serves, as Latin did in Europe during the Middle Ages, as a medium for educated discussion and instruction. This period extends from 500 BCE to 1000 CE. During the classical period, the writings and thus the religion of the Vedic period are rendered obsolete. Vedic religion is transformed into Hinduism, and it is to these writings of the classical period to which one turns for the origins of Hinduism, which, again, is beyond the scope of our course. The Vedas are themselves the collections of sacred knowledge acquired through divine revelation that form the foundation of Brahmanical or priestly system of religious belief. They are called the Shruti, literally heard, or divinely inspired literature. The Vedas are less well known and studied in modern India, which tends to rely on later classical literature known as Smriti, remembered, or traditional literature. The term Veda is itself related to the Latin word video, I see. There are four divisions in the Vedas: the Rig Veda, or lore of praise, consisting of some 1,028 hymns grouped in 10 books or circles called mandalas. The most important gods can be judged by the number of hymns addressed to each. The sky god Indra receives over 250 hymns. Agni, lord of fire, some 200, and Soma, god of intoxication, more than 100. The Sama Veda is the lore of tunes or chants. The Yajur Veda is the lore of prayer or sacrificial formulas. And the Atharva Veda is the lore of the Atharvans, a priestly family. This Veda is not as old or distinguished as the first three, but, like them, it is a collection of hymns. It also contains many spells that are thought, despite their later date of composition, to represent an earlier stage of religious thinking. Together, these collections of mainly poetical texts of a devotional nature constitute the path of threefold wisdom, Trayi Vidya, or of hymn, tune, or chant, and prayer. These writings were considered so sacred that only the upper classes were allowed to hear or recite them. Lower classes were forbidden from uttering or hearing these sacred words under pain of having their ears cut off and molten lead poured down their throats.
Oh, wow.
At least according to a regulation from the law of Manu.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You cutting out people's ears and other body parts because they knew how to read? Sounds kind of familiar. I'm just saying. It sounds kind of familiar. I've heard of another group of people that, weren't supposed to learn how to read and write, and if you got caught teaching certain people how to read and write, there was consequences to your actions. I'm just saying. They these people, they had just the utmost, I can't say accurate, that's not the word for it, but their structure, their community structure was so that, you had to be higher up on the social ladder to be able to read and write. And it was a similar thing in Egypt, where the upper echelon of society were allowed to read and write. They exchanged the hieroglyphs. A lot of people would say that, for the most part, the common folks didn't use hieroglyphs like that. They had their own little watered down language that they used. I guess you could say they were pagan compared to like the royal Egyptian house, and the upper class people of society. I'm just saying. Let's continue.
Manu was a mythical first man.
Manu.
The Rig Veda is thought to have absorbed many gods of the people conquered by Sanskrit speakers, and whose images have been found in the ruins of the Indus civilization. The interpretation of these texts, however, eventually passed into the hands of a priesthood, thus paving the way for transition from an original Vedic religion to Brahmanic Hinduism. The gods retain their names, but with different emphases. Before taking up the topic of priests, we must distinguish the words Brahma and Brahman. Brahma lacks an N. Brahma was a creator god and part of the Hindu trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahman, with an N, on the other hand, can mean priest. The word is sometimes spelled Brahmin with an I to distinguish it from a different kind of Brahmin. In different contexts, Brahmin can also refer to prayer or to a prayer spell in the Rig Veda, as well as to the power behind the prayer and to the ultimate impersonal power behind the universe. That is, the one force animating all reality, otherwise known as ultimate reality. And the priestly writings, they were called Brahmanas. Is that clear? The most important feature of the modified Vedic religion is the importance of priests called Brahmins. They are the authors of the Brahmanas, priestly writings that explain the earlier Vedas and Vedic ritual. They claim to explain the mystical meaning of the Vedas and to provide instructions regarding ritual.
Okay. That's enough of that bullshit. No, I'm just kidding. Brahma. Maybe it's just me again. Hopefully it's not. But when he said the Brahma and Brahmin, I didn't know there was a difference. However, I have heard of the term used outside of religion. At least I think it was outside of religion. It could have been religious based, and I just didn't know it. Brahma bull. So now I'm thinking, is it actually Brahma bull or is it Brahmin bull? Not sure. Somebody research that. There was a famous wrestler. He's an actor now, but there was a famous wrestler, and one of the names he went by was the Brahma Bull. I believe he actually has a tattoo of a bull on one of his arms. And before him, some ancient people actually worship the bull. It's weird. It gets weird. I don't remember all the details, but go through the book of ancient Egypt, and there's like 2 or 3 episodes about the bull, sacred bull. That being said, thanks for coming out. Be safe, and I will talk to you again. Bye.